Thank you. We are about to get started. A couple of announcements. If you want your children, we do to go up and have some fun activities. We have a room upstairs for childcare.
Hola a todos, buenos días, mi nombre es Amalia Suárez. Todavía tenemos espacio para cuidar a los chiquillos allá arriba. Eleanor los puede llevar allá arriba.
And we do have a few more translation devices so that we won't need a translator soon.
Y todavía tenemos para traducir allá.
Over by the coffee, allá al lado del café. And we also have more coffee and juice and food, so if anyone wants to get some last-minute food before it gets taken away, please go ahead and get some food, and then we're going to get started.
Todavía tenemos mucha comida, tenemos café, jugo de china, jugo de naranja, so si quieren agarrar antes de que ya lo saquen todos.
Okay, so, yeah. The music will still play. Okay. So thank you all for coming. We are so excited to be hosting this event this morning. We are honored to have Dr. Delia Fernandez here with us. And also our amazing panelists. So I'm just going to pass the mic over to Delia and let her take things away.
Well, thank you all for coming. This has been a ton of work on the part of all of the partners that we have. And so I want to point out Erika and Veronica from the Latino Community Coalition, who have Doctora Nora Salas from the Kutsche Office of Local History, and Amalia Suarez, my undergraduate student from Michigan State. So we've been working on ways to commemorate this, the historical neighborhood, this area, the places that mean so much to us in the past and in the present. And this was one of the ways that we could do that. And we have a lot of, if you like this, we have a lot of other ways that you can get involved that we'll get into later. But I just wanted to also pass along a couple of well wishes. Father Ted Kozlowski could not be here. He has to do a wedding as well as with Deacon Carlos over at Our Lady of Sorrows. But Father Ted has passed along some history, and I can kind of add that into the panel, or we can talk about it afterwards. But he just remembers his time here St. Joseph's, especially through 1966 through 1969, with the creation of the first Spanish Mass in Grand Rapids at St. Joseph's here. He remembers that very fondly, and hopefully we can hear more about that as well. And other well wishes from Father Pedro Garcia, who was at St. Joseph's at various times. He also could not make it. He had things that he had to do. He's also in Holland. And he just wanted me to pass along that the congregation at St. Joseph's is what he prayed for. That before he was ordained, he wanted to serve a community like the one that we had. And so he's very thankful for his time with us. He's very sorry he can't be here, but I do have to call him and give him an update after this is done. So if you want to pass along any messages, I can pass those along. But with that, I think we're ready for Dr. Salas to come and start our panel.
Thank you so much, Delia, for that introduction. And as she said, I am Nora Salas. I am a professor at Grand Valley, and also the director of the Kutsche Office of Local History. And we are so happy today to be participating in this panel and this event because the mission of the office is to bring underrepresented histories more to the fore and shine a light on those. And this is a great example of that. A few things, just a few things to remember. We have allotted about an hour for the panel, and we do have a list of questions, and I want to thank all the panelists for coming too, and we just want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to talk. So not everybody will probably be able to respond to all the questions, but we do have more time after this for other parts of this event, so you might be able to connect with them and talk later. So I think with that, the next thing that we need to do is have all of the panelists introduce yourself, and then the years you attended or served at St. Joseph the Worker. And I do need to ask everybody to please use a microphone, and there's another one up there, and I will come and get it down while I pass the mic to Father.
I'm Father Steve Crone. I've been in and out of St. Joseph the Worker. In 1975 as a seminarian, I spent a number of months in a sort of internship under Father Larry Hartwig. I came back in 1985 as pastor and served for 9 years until 1994. And then I came back in 2008 to the site here, only to move us to the site currently at 32nd Street and Buchanan. So lots of years, crossing over lots of years.
Hi, my name is Delia Moreto Rodriguez. I've been going to St. Joe's 38 years, 1985 to 2023 and on.
Hi, my name is Virginia Zavala. I was going to St. Joseph all my life because my mom went to St. Joseph and we had to go to church every Sunday. And later, I got married at St. Joseph, and all my children were baptized at St. Joseph. And I didn't start working at St. Joseph until my twins were like preschool ready. You know, I got like asked to help with Bible class. Okay.
I'm Sister Lucia Zapata. I'm a Grand Rapids Dominican sister, and St. Joseph's Parish was my first assignment right after college. So that's how I began my education, teaching at the school from 1966 in there. I did my student teaching here at St. Joseph's. That was my first contact. And then after that, Father Ted Kozlowski was the pastor. And when I finished my student teaching, he asked if I would do home visitation in the area. So all these streets, I basically walked around inviting people to come to church. And then shortly after that year, I was assigned to this parish.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Imelda Quintino y yo era vecina de San José Obrero. Vivía en la calle Ramsey, atrás de San José. Pero nunca pensé que me fuera a quedar ahí porque era migrante y venía de Florida a Grand Rapids y al última pues en el 84 fue que me quedé en San José Obrero. Desde allí hasta la fecha estamos ahí, mi familia y yo.
Buenos días, mi nombre es María Antonia Meneses. Yo llegué a San José Obrero en el año 1973, desde que salí de Cuba, siempre buscando mi fe. Y llegué aquí a Grand Rapids y empecé a ir a la iglesia San Andrés pero era en inglés y yo traía a mi mamá muy mayor y ella no entendía nada. Nosotros entendíamos un poquito, pero ella no entendía nada y desde entonces nos dijeron que existía la iglesia San José Obrero y vinimos a la iglesia y nos quedamos hasta el día de hoy. Estoy perteneciendo a San José Obrero. Gracias.
Thank you so much. So now we're going to go on to our next question, which is, can you describe what drew you to the church and why you stayed?
My first invitation, I mentioned I served as internship as a seminarian under Father Larry Hartwig. He had mentored me, first got me involved with the Hispanic community in any way. He worked with the migrant ministry around Carson City, Michigan, if any of you even know where that is. And I was still in grade school and early high school, and he invited me to accompany him visiting migrant camps and so forth. Well, fast forward a few years, he was the administrator at St. Joseph. He was the vocation director for the diocese. It wasn't technically the pastor, but he lived there and filled in and functioned as pastor. And he said, well, you've worked with migrant workers. Why don't you come and work with the Latino community here in the city? And I said, okay. So he invited me that summer, and I fell in love with the parish. And I was a few years away from ordination still, but and it's not totally up to me. We have a bishop who decides these things, but in my heart it was always like, I want to come back here someday as pastor, which miraculously I had the chance to do not just once, but twice.
And yes, that was great. We really, I tell you, what brought me to the church. First, I did go way before 1985 with my friend Andrejita Hernandez. She brought me to the church too. We just went on a Sunday. And I love Father James Bozan. He was awesome guy. He told the truth and told me about things. So after a while, I remember my little sister Lori and Johnny went to church. So I asked to go with them one day after I went through a little bit of divorce and I was trying to find a way. And they brought me to St. Joseph. I found that St. Joseph, at the time in my life, I was searching for peace with God. I decided at that time I want to belong there and have never left. But one thing about St. Joe's, when I first went to that church, our church, we were in the pews. I was not Catholic. I went a couple of times with Lori, and I was looking for a reason or maybe something. And I saw my father was saying, priest at the Lord's Prayer. I was opening my eyes, and I was going to give peace to my sister and brother-in-law. And they both went this way. The kids, they went another way. I was all alone in pews. And I thought, oh, what is this? That was exciting, but it was like, okay, I feel a little lost. Nobody here. But I felt that St. Joe's was good for me, so I told her I want to be Catholic. And Father confirmed me.
I always loved St. Joseph since I was a child. Sister Lucia, matter of fact, was one of my teachers. Father Bozan married me and Robert and baptized all my kids and would come to the house to visit. And as I grew up or whatever, I stopped going to church for a while or whatever, and then I got married. And when you get married and you're Catholic, you got to go to church. you know, because you have to bring your kids up right, you know. So that's what I try to do, was to bring my kids up. At St. Joseph, what made me stay the longest, I think, was the Puerto Rican choir. Now, I'll tell you first, when I learned to like sing with Sister and the other parishioners, I was learning to sing, but I was singing Mexican style, because that's what was there first. So, you know, I sound like a Mexican, I'm Puerto Rican. And people would ask me, what are you? You know, what are you from Texas? I'm like, no, I'm Puerto Rican. But then the Puerto Rican choir came, and when they start playing, I thought I died and went to heaven. I was like, oh my God, what have I been missing all these years? You know? But that's what kept me there the longest, plus getting involved with other things. You know, when my kids got older, I started doing other things. But we're not going to talk about that right now.
As I already mentioned, I did my student teaching at St. Joseph's, and then that summer, helping Father doing house visitation in the neighborhood, inviting people to services at church. I talked to my superiors, and I asked if I knew I had to be assigned out, because I was living at the House of Studies at Aquinas College, because all that we were doing is studying and learning and doing theology and whatnot. And I did not realize until later that you don't ask, you are assigned. So anyways, I did ask, and I said, I think I do like that parish, because I'm not from Grand Rapids, I'm from Saginaw. I'm from Saginaw, Michigan, which is over on the east side of the state. So I really knew no one. I didn't even know where the churches were, because my whole life was at Marywood and 2025 East Fulton Street and Aquinas College. That's basically where my life was. And not until I was assigned to do student teaching at St. Joseph's. I found my wish did come true. I was assigned to St. Joseph's. I taught the 3rd and the 4th grade. That school, it was small, but it had 4 classrooms, and they were double. So there was a class 1, 2, I had 3, 4. Sister Stephanie had 5, 6, and then Miss Clark had 7, 8. And I forgot about Sister Dolores. She had the 1st and 2nd. She also was the principal. So I found this parish to be very much like where I came from in Saginaw. The students were, there was no division, really. It didn't matter what color you were. And that's how I was brought up, because I went to public school, and then later in my life I went to a Catholic school. But there was no difference in color. We were people, and we were there to learn as much as we could. So I also found out that in school, it was quite innovative. We were moving children from one grade or one class to another for reading. That was something for this school, because later on I know that was something that was done in other schools, even in public too. So the people were very friendly, very much in their faith, and Father did help as much as he could in doing devotions that came from whatever country the people were from. It was a unified parish. And I know besides doing the religious aspect of St. Joseph's Parish, Father also tried to bring in GRPS officials to come and talk to the people that had children in the public school. And that was the time, I was in the time when a lot of services were being created and brought to Hispanic children. Otherwise, if that would not have been taken place, we would not be here. So that's where your bilingual education came in, and the appreciation of culture. So I was, like I said, I became very, very close to St. Joseph's when the school went to the cathedral, because it merged with the cathedral school, St. Andrew's. I also followed over there. So St. Joseph's became very close to my heart, and it still is, because that's how it all started for me.
Bueno, pues a mí lo que me llevó a San José Obrero fue un problema en mi matrimonio. Y en ese tiempo estaba el padre Jim Busan. Y yo estoy segura que por sus oraciones, pues todavía sigo en San José.
Ok, pues a mí, como yo dije al principio, el problema del idioma era muy importante, porque para poder progresar en la fe es preciso entender qué es lo que estás procesando. Segundo, porque tenía niños pequeños y quería que crecieran en la iglesia católica. Y tercero, porque encontré una familia que había dejado y que me hacía mucha falta. Entre todos los que asistíamos a la iglesia, formamos una gran familia. Puertorriqueños, cubanos, mexicanos y americanos, que fueron las primeras razas que habíamos aquí. Formábamos todos un melting pot, como dicen los americanos.
Thank you so much. Maria, why don't you keep the mic, because I'm going to start at that end this time so we can mix it up a little. All right, so we'll put you on the spot a little. And we'll go on to our next question about what kind of activities did you do at St. Joseph's?
Okay. ¿Qué clase de actividades hice en San José? Yo creo que de todo. Hasta limpieza. En aquel entonces, cuando comenzábamos, cantaba en el coro, era ministro de Eucaristía, lector, pertenecía al comité de finanzas, contábamos las colectas, éramos todo, éramos un grupo que hacíamos de todo. Catequista, gracias padre. Catequista, íbamos a los campos a ayudar a los emigrantes que venían, íbamos a hacer los rosarios a los campos con el padre T y la sister Lucía. Y muchas cosas, para qué decirle, hasta limpiar, porque éramos pocos y la demanda era mucha.
Bueno, he estado sirviendo en la iglesia San José Obrero como ministro de Eucaristía, lectora, por 20 años he estado coordinando en el festival el puesto de las aguas frescas, también en los movimientos que hay en San José Obrero. Fui secretaria del movimiento de la renovación carismática por 9 años. He participado en el comité pastoral. También en el 1981 viví mi cursillo y era parroquiana de San José. También he coordinado la fiesta de la novena de Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe. También he estado trabajando en el movimiento de cursillos como rollista, como auxiliar, como rectora, como correctora, y ya ahorita estoy en la vocalía de la escuela. Y para mí, pues, es un gran privilegio ser parroquiana de San José, porque me ha dado la oportunidad de crecer espiritualmente.
I basically, at St. Joseph's School, devoted a lot of time, like 99% of my time was in the school, studying for, like I mentioned already, double grades. So that was like doing lesson plans. It was doing lesson plans for 2 grades. So most of my time I spent there in the school doing preparations, and I did help out in religious education. I think it was on the weekend. So most of my time went in there. In church, on Sundays I participated, but I didn't do everything that these people did. There was a lot. So I did go there to church, participated, talked to people, met parents of the students. So basically, my whole time went in preparation.
Let me see. I did a lot of activities at St. Joseph. I was a Eucharistic minister, but I couldn't do it. People wouldn't open their mouths wide enough. You know, Father gave me a look once like, you better not laugh. So I said, okay, that's enough. I couldn't do it. But I did do Bible class when I started out with the kindergartners, went to first grade, then Holy Communion class. And by the time I got into Holy Communion class, that was a few years going, all of a sudden they needed a director. So that was thrown into my hands. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing here. But the last director gave me a book, and this is a plan book, just follow this. I'm like, okay. So it was a lot of work. At that time, the migrants were coming in big time. And my classes were huge. And I thought, Lord, what do I do? These books are in English, you know. So I did a fundraiser, and we bought bilingual books, you know, and so that was great. And so everybody was able to participate or whatever, and my Spanish wasn't that great. So I thought, how do I communicate with the parents or whatever? At the bottom of the books, they always had a little letter for the parents. I would try my best in my Spanish to translate it. And I always had help from people at work. I worked at Walter's Gardens. So I would pass it down to the ladies and ask them, what do you think about this? They would laugh. It went from Mexican to Puerto Rican to, I don't know, Salvadoran and everything, and everybody had a different way to say what that said. So then I would go to my mom, and my mom would tell me, okay, this is pretty much okay. So then I take it to Father Garcia, and he would just laugh and cross things out. But, you know, that's the way I communicate it. And then sometimes I had a lot speak on the microphone in church, and so they laughed a lot, you know, when I was trying to explain things. And Father would just tell them what I meant. Esto es lo que ella quiere decir. But it was great. I mean, that working at St. Joseph has been the highlight of my life. Seriously. There are so many people and caring and loving people. I didn't have a problem teaching Bible class, or especially, you know, when the bilingual people came in. I said, how can I do this? Well, them little kids from Mexico knew all their prayers. I didn't have to teach them anything. I said, whoa. So that was great. I also did, let me hurry. I did, while I was doing that, I did Virgen de Guadalupe plays, Easter plays, and all this stuff. And I didn't do it by myself. poor Walter's Gardens had to help. I used all their paper, with permission, to make programs for the retreats and just everything. They helped me a lot there. I would take my papers and spread them out across the tables that weren't being used for lunch. And people would get up and say, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yes, please." Get staplers and put everything together. I didn't do it by myself. Martha, oh my God, I would have died if Martha was not there. Thank you. You know, everybody say hi to Martha.
I'm Puerto Rican and Mexican.
Anyways, it was hard, but it was fun. It was fun. I did it as long as I could. Oh, I also tried to join choirs or whatever. We had a little children's choir. My sister Carmen had a children's choir, and so the music came from Sister Pat. Sister Pat, when she was teaching, it's before I started, she was teaching the kids all these songs, and they would sing them in church or whatever, and I love Sister Pat. So I wanted to be just like her. So my sister Carmen decided to have a choir, and so I helped her with that, and then she couldn't do it anymore, and we didn't have a guitar player or whatever, right? So Father Ted once came up to me, we're at St. Joseph, and said, "Virginia, you want to play guitar?" Father, I always wanted to play guitar. He goes, "Go to Sister Lucia and tell her you want to play." So I went to Sister Lucia. I said, "Sister, I want to play guitar." And then I didn't even have a guitar, right? But I wanted to play. Come to find out, classes had started, and I didn't have a guitar. So I went and bought my own guitar and stuck it under the Christmas tree. And so, Sister taught me how to play. And so I tried, to play with different choirs. I did the best I could because most of them played by ear. So I would watch fingers. I'm like, I can't do that. But I was getting better at following. But, I learned from her. I mean, not that one is better than the other, but use the book. And so I did that for years or whatever. I mean, made a lot of mistakes. I remember Mrs. Leonard's. She played the keyboard. She volunteered to help. And it was something crazy because I made so many mistakes and got so embarrassed. We would be playing, and sometimes I'd make a mistake and start singing a song at the wrong time. Father would look at me like, "What are you doing?" And then Sister Lucia, or not Sister Lucia, Mrs. Leonard would hit a wrong button. And so we're trying to sing Cordero de Dios with salsa in the background. I'm like, "Unplug it, unplug it." She's, no. She was older. I said, "Please unplug it." She's like, "No." So I told another guy, Pat Staten, unplug that keyboard. And he was like, "I can't." She'll hit me or something. So like I said, I made a lot of mistakes, but I had a lot of fun. Worked in Crucillo for probably 15 years. And why have a mess? So sometimes you have to say, enough is enough. Not that you can't help in certain ways, but you have families. God says take care of your family first before you come trying to pretty much save someone else, save yourself and your family. So that's what I try to do.
Yeah, that was long. Sorry.
You were feeling it.
Okay. Yeah. At St. Joe's, I was baptized when I was 30. At Lori's house, our house used to be a long time ago. And I'm very happy that Father is here. He confirmed me, maybe go through things with Sister Pat Lamb. I was able to had direction. Went to do help out with religious ed, like a part-time teacher, help the teachers. Volunteered at the festival, which is a great day. I mean, we all had a good time. This guy, you know his name? Andrew, I think his name is. Well, he used to be the guy I took a picture with. He did immigration.
Immigrations.
What do you call that?
Yeah.
I helped with that during the time they had an area week because of DACA. No,
that was the amnesty back
and amnesty Ronald Reagan time at that time. So I had a good time with him. I did. And I also was called to help with the finance, be one of those that help with him with the finance committee. Also, St. Joe's, there's so many things that we did. I mean, I got pictures I can show you, but I know that a lot of time is limited. But I met so many people. All these people, I think I only met her in church with holy name. Our Lady Sowers, yeah, was part said. I only know her from the distance. I don't really know. Sister Lucy, yeah.
Third and fourth grade teacher.
And really, with John and Lori helping me with my taking me to church, that was the greatest thing ever. And with St. Joseph's has been my life, most of my life. I seem to be able to do things I can, and then Father, Guillermo Zapata was asking me about doing things all the time. He's very good. I tell you, he could really think it. He was very good about helping out with the church. One time he asked me a question about going to Chicago. I said, "Ooh, Father, I don't know. I work big time with 2 jobs," and I said, "I don't know I could do it." So I went to Sylvia Olak, and she was she knows everybody, knows things all around. She said, "D, just Harlado that you can't do it. I mean, it's good. You can do lots of things for the church, but sometimes you're unable to do it. Just tell him no, you can't do it." Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know I could do that. Okay. I was volunteering for everything. Food jobs we have, all kinds of stuff to do with the youth group. You know, we go here and there. And I said, "Oh, I can tell him no." But that's my thoughts about my activities. I was very enthused with the St. Joe's. I love helping out as many times I can, and it was wonderful to me. But I feel kind of like lost. But you know, it's a good thing what they do. I think looking at it. Marissa Strong, way back, was Father Garcia, had the idea to make a collection for the building fund, so we can work at fixing things the church needed. But you know, we raised maybe $250,000, something like that. Mm-hmm. But it was how many years? A long time. So she tried, and she was very good helping out with the food job, everything around the church. So I got to give her credit for that. I mean, she was a good person. But that was a good. We were trying to help each other by doing the feeding fund to help with the church, fix the bathrooms, furnace, all kinds of things. So it did help. Carmen, her mom, she had. They both. She was part of the festival. Her husband making Puerto Rican food at the festival. They were asking me about that. My friends were asking me, "What's the Puerto Rican food?" But that's one great thing that I remember, that we all had communication with everybody, and we all miss the old church very much.
Thank you so much. It was so interesting to hear about all the different varieties of activities that you did with the church. And then next I want to start with Father Steve about the kinds of activities that St. Joseph was involved in with the community, the wider community. You've mentioned some things already, like the work with the migrant camps, or maybe with the 1986 amnesty, I think Delia was bringing up, or other things we'd love to hear about. So I'd like to start with the Father first.
Because St. Joe's served a Latino population, which is a heavily Catholic population and a heavily Latino Catholic neighborhood, it really became an anchor for the community, and has been for decades. So obviously, for a Catholic community, the church itself, if you baptize your kids there, if you get married there, if you buried loved ones there, there are strong emotional ties. But some of those reach out to the wider community too. I know that in my first time as pastor, again, 85 to 94, Grandville Avenue at the time was a very, very violent neighborhood. And we had, I didn't count them, but I'll bet I had maybe 12 or 15 funerals of murder victims killed in the violence in this neighborhood. And we'd come to church and we'd have the funeral there, and it became hopefully a place for a little bit of sanity and healing in the midst of very difficult times that way too. But yes, teams would go out to migrant camps and visit migrant camps. We established a number of volunteers. We'd go visit the county jail. I was involved in jail ministry. We did that. Again, mention of the amnesty program. We made the school available so that the officials could come, and many people could apply for legal residency under the amnesty program. Sister Lucia made reference earlier to Grand Rapids Public Schools having programs there. The school was also a center for adult education for a number of years. So we also had a food and clothing mission, which gave food and clothing to many needy people in the neighborhood and beyond. So our activities have always been more than just us. Even the parish festival closed off the whole street, became a whole neighborhood, celebration. It wasn't, just for the parish. I made a couple of notes here for. Yeah, I guess I mentioned the amnesty thing. Times change, of course, but to talk about what kind of place it was. So one peaceful Sunday afternoon, 2 Grand Rapids police officers showed up, and they had 2 undocumented Mexicans whom they had apprehended, somebody had called them, from a boxcar in one of the trains that passed through town. And somebody said, "What do we do with 2 undocumented Mexicans?" It's like, take them to Father Steve at St. Joe's. They wouldn't do that now, of course, but that's the reputation St. Joe's had, is my point, okay? That it was a safe place for an immigrant. And St. Joe's has always been an immigrant parish. Dutch first. This neighborhood was Dutch Protestants who stole the cornerstone a few times before it got fixed. But Dutch, and then Italian, and now Hispanic. But it's always been immigrants. And so it's always been that first base, that comfortable place for culture and language where you feel secure in your own culture and so forth. And then from there to reach out to others beyond too.
man, there's so many things. Oh. We would go sometimes. Everybody who has that had for we raise money from Borio local downtown. We went downtown to the Calder. They had the arts festival. It was a great pollo adobo. Oh, that's pollo. Oh, adobo. Yeah. Thank you, Father. See, I need your help, Lori.
That restaurant is good.
Yeah, that's a good restaurant. No, the pollo adobo, which I forgot her name, that made the.
Who wouldn't give us the rest because it was a secret family recipe?
Yeah. What's her name? She was great. Maria. What is her name?
La mujer que hizo
What's her name?
el adobo para la carne.
Luz María.
Luz María.
Luz Maria.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She was an awesome girl. We did that maybe 3-4 years, something like that, and we did the metros they had, which is coming up. We had weddings, baby showers, Lori's baby shower for Lil D. We had it downstairs. We surprised Lori about it. I got a good tip. But yeah, we did all kinds of things. We did. Father was having during the Lent. We were doing the supper, and he had everybody taste what they taste in the days. Those days was great experience. You see everybody. We had a great time. You know.
Senior suppers.
Yeah, it was I had to taste that horseradish. That to me was kind of hard. I had to taste it because everybody had to.
Unleavened bread.
And we had quinceañeras, which is lots of people and baptisms, and I baptized my little D, my girl. And you know what? That's one thing I remember taking a picture of little D. When we go to church, after church, she liked to run up the hill, right there. Run up the hill and come flying down. Everybody does that, but she was very good about she was free. She was active. And she helped a lot with the church stuff and with mom and dad all the time. And we did Cursillo, which is one thing that she's really helped me with my life a lot. I mean, I'm a different person from way back. And we were with the festival. I was in charge of entertainment, trying to get everybody to, and with the other people, the bands, make sure everybody's there. And we had a one person that, like, bless him, Herberto.
Gilberto
Perez. Yeah, he was always able to host. Yeah, he was very good at different times you needed. Loud and clear, yeah. And lots of people that were there. We had a great time. Sometimes things are up here, I can't get out. So.
Okay, what kind of activities? Well, with the children's choir, we would go to, we went to nursing homes and we would sing or whatever. And we went to hospitals or whatever, and it was hard when we went to the hospital because they didn't want us to leave. We go around Christmas time, and someone would hear about that the kids were singing downstairs, and they wanted us to go upstairs, and the time was going, I'm like, these parents are going to be upset. And I said, just one more, and we would do one more, and then get home. What happened? I said, they wouldn't let us leave. But I'd like to thank all the choir people, if there's any here. Thank you. You guys were great. And then once we went to Chicago, so I had to have drivers or whatever. I think Helman was one of them, Ruiz. And Paula, she was in the Puerto Rican choir, I asked her because I always admired her. Oh my God, I would hear her sing in that choir. And I was thinking, Lord have mercy, what an angel. So anyway, she said yes in Helman, so we were blessed. And we had other people that drove or whatever. It was a crazy time, but it was a healing mass. Now, we went with another church choir. We practiced together, went over there. And what happened was weird. Different religions and stuff. Real quick, the kids were singing. Everybody knew Viva Jesus. You can sing that without looking at the paper, right? Well, all of a sudden, the kids stopped singing a little bit, and I'm banging on the guitar, and I'm like, come on. And all of a sudden, I saw, boop, somebody dropped. So I looked to the side, and the priest was like, I believe, blessing people with the Holy Spirit. I said, oh my goodness. Now, I've seen this in other churches. I didn't see it in mine. Where am I? I got scared. And, so then they invited the kids up or whatever. They looked so cute. They looked like dominoes, dressed in black and white in a circle. And the priest would go around with other people, and he'd touch them, and they'd just drop and drop and drop. I had my twins standing next to me, and they said, we're not dropping. We're not going to drop. I said, you don't have to. You do not have to. And they went bloop, bloop. And when they went to me, I said, no. And I kind of wish I wouldn't have said no, but I had a responsibility. I had a responsibility to the parents of the kids that I was there. And I'm like, I believe in God, I believe in the Holy Spirit, but also I believe in take care of them kids.
You couldn't do it while you were sleeping, huh?
No. But that was a good thing that I really enjoyed, and also going to migrant masses. I would go with Silvia Macias and her husband. They would come, pick me up, and we go and we play. Now, we were like new students, sister, right? But we were doing the best we could. We would go to migrant masses and play. One day, she couldn't go. So Father Garcia asked me, Virginia, are you going? And I said, well, they're not going, so I can't go. I said, you give me a right. No, I have something to do afterwards, but just go. You know where it's at. I don't like to drive. I don't like to drive at night. But I had to, because I figured, okay, I said I was going to do this. I have to do it. I go out there, and I did it. But then on the way back, I said, Father, let me follow you. He said, okay, follow me. He drove so fast. I said, no. I'll make it. I'll make it on my own. But that's another thing that I did with the community with the kids, which I really enjoyed. Thank you. Whoop. I keep passing it the wrong way. Sorry.
Could you remind me which question are we on?
That's all
Community.
right. We're on question 4 about activities with the community.
All right. There were a lot of activities that took place at our at St. Joseph's, which affected not just this area, but it also affected the city. Even though this parish was small, a small building, it was a very powerful community because it impacted the hospital, St. Mary's, which is now Holy Trinity, because there were, I know Father Ted would meet with the officials at the hospital and telling them that we needed translators. because people were taking the wrong dosage of medications because they couldn't read it in English. So that became a very strong, and now that's why you have now translators. But this was not easy. This was not easy. It took time. It took a lot of talking. There's a lot of things that happened at St. Joseph's that took a lot of talking, and it seemed like we were inching to our destiny or to our goal. So what you have now, your voice in the community, in the city, the workers in the school, the teachers in the school, that took a long time. And it was through the people talking, because, you know, I would tell the parishioners, they'd say, well, we need this and we need that. Yeah, right, but I can speak for you, but you have to speak for yourself. I can't be doing all your talking. I mean, you have to really take charge. And that's how things were done, by taking charge. You know, we know what to do. Yes, we can speak and whatnot, but then what I would always get from officials was, well, nobody else is saying nothing. It's just you. And so I would get after the people and say, you have to say what you need, because if I'm the only one or Father's the only one, it's not going to work. And so, so you have to give the credit to the people that they did the meetings at church, bringing Grand Rapids Public again, the hospital, and even communication with the police, and any kind of need that the people had. I know we were ready to help out, but, you know, we can't do it by ourselves. And it still stays the same. Mm-hmm. We cannot do that by ourselves. You have to have the support, and you have to have the community working together. And so if it wasn't for St. Joseph's Parish, we would not be where we are right now, really. I looked at the neighborhood as I was coming in my past, recent past. I worked for Grand Rapids Public. And so Franklin School, I was there. Hall School, I was there. So, so this whole area has impacted my life, and it has touched it on and off, on and off, on and off. But it's the community that have to say something and work together and not have inner fighting. You will never gain anything. Yes, we might have some disagreements of how we do it, but you have to remember people are looking at it from different angles. You know, like right now, I'm working over here at Our Lady of Sorrows where Father Ted is, and I know sometimes he'll say things, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, well, that's not how I would do it. Well, then when I start hearing the whole story of why, then I say, oh, okay, so then I understand and I support. So St. Joseph's has impacted a lot. It really has, the whole city, and even the migrant community also.
¿Qué tipo de actividades de la comunidad en San José Obrero estaba San José? Bueno, una de las actividades es darle bienvenida a todas las razas y culturas que llegamos por primera vez. Y eso viene, gracias a Dios, por los sacerdotes que han estado en San José desde que yo recuerdo. Ellos, mis respetos para recibir a todas las razas y culturas. Otra de las cosas muy importantes para mí fue la amnistía en el 1986, que nos ayudaron a unir familias, a estar legales en este país. Vivíamos con mucho miedo por no tener nuestros documentos en regla, pero gracias a Dios y a la amnistía que dio el presidente Reagan, San José fue parte de ayudarnos a traer personas para llenarnos las aplicaciones y así no tener más miedo ni gastar en abogados, porque muchos de nosotros veníamos de trabajos del campo que no teníamos para pagar un abogado. Y de esa amnistía yo soy fruto y ahora puedo estar orgullosa de San José Obrero porque me dio esa oportunidad de poder estar aquí legal para mi familia.
Ok, ¿qué clase de actividades San José estuvo envuelto? Pues yo creo que en todas. San José fue la base de donde nacieron las necesidades de la comunidad hispana. Primero, socialmente se demandó de un lugar local donde se abrió el centro hispano de nuevo, que estaba cerrado. La clínica Santa María es producto de San José, porque de ella demandaban salud. El crecimiento del comercio fue producto de San José, porque las personas necesitaban sus alimentos y las personas de negocios abrieron sus tiendas. O sea que San José ha sido una base de que todo el crecimiento de esta comunidad se lo debamos a San José. Segundo, también se abrieron las utrellas. Cuando se formaron los cursillos, la primera utrella hispana se abrió en San José. Muchas cosas sucedieron en San José. Se dieron los primeros holiday baskets también para las personas que tenían necesidad en los tiempos de Navidad y de Thanksgiving. Los juguetes para los niños por los Niños Colombos, que mi esposo fue el promotor de traer, que se diera una vez al año, venía Santa Claus a San José y le daba juguetes a los niños. Todo, ¿para qué decirle? San José fue la base y fue el que como una dinamita explotó en toda esta área. Y estamos orgullosos de pertenecer a San José y de ser el promotor de todo ese valor que ha tenido esta comunidad alrededor de San José.
Thank you. And for the next question, I just want to remind everybody we have about 15 minutes left for this part of the presentation. You've been offering so much great memories and reflections. And we have 2 more questions remaining, and I'd really like to get everybody to be able to answer the last question because it's sort of a summary. So I wanted to see if I could get maybe 3 people of the 6 of you, no, 5 of you, no 6. Okay, anyways, to weigh in on the 5th question, which is about who was at the church with you and how the background of the people at the church has changed over time. So could I have maybe 3 volunteers to discuss this question, María?
Okay. Sí. Con el tiempo fue creciendo tanto la comunidad de San José y variadamente cambió también la calidad de personas que asistíamos. Las primeras comunidades fueron puertorriqueños, cubanos, americanos y mexicanos, pero después se fueron agregando otras razas y otros dominicanos que llegaron al área, también guatemaltecos, y la raza guatemalteca ha crecido tanto en estos momentos que es la más grande que va a San José en estos momentos. Ya no hay muchos cubanos, solamente quedo yo de cubano en San José, pero siguen los puertorriqueños como Carmen, Emilio, muchas familias puertorriqueñas que se han quedado, Delia, muchos, pero han decrecido mucho, han muerto nuestros ancestros y hemos quedado las raíces nada más. Pero le debemos a San José también el crecimiento. Por eso fue que la iglesia se nos hizo pequeña y Marisa Strong fue el que puso el primer eslabón para poder mudarnos a la iglesia nueva y tener más capacidad, que en este momento casi nos queda corta ya también. Ya no cabemos en esa iglesia. Necesitamos una iglesia más grande y vamos a ver quién es la que toma liderazgo para poder hacer eso. Vamos a necesitar una catedral, yo creo, porque San José ha crecido tanto. San José ha crecido tanto que la verdad nos queda corto. Y ya no cabemos en esta área. Ya la comunidad hispana es tan grande que ya no cabe en la calle Grandville. Ya se ha expandido por todo Grand Rapids. Nosotros siempre hemos vivido cerca, primero de Holy Name y después de San Jean Vianney, pero nunca he usado las parroquias que me pertenecen. Siempre he venido a San José, porque ha sido mi corazón. Ahí tengo mi corazón y tengo mi alma enterrada. Y ahí voy a morir.
So maybe a couple other people.
Maria covered that very well, by the way. So, for example, when I arrived as pastor in 1985, a Saturday afternoon Mass was all English with organ music. Dorothy Beckema, who missed notes once in a while. We had organ pipes that were purely decorative. But one of them was a little crooked, and she said that's why her notes turn out sour. I didn't tell her they were purely decorative. Anyway, but 9 o'clock Mass Sunday was all Spanish, everything in Spanish, music and everything. And 11 o'clock Mass, my parts, the readings were all in English, and the music was in Spanish. So we were obviously a mixture. When I came back in 2008, everything's Spanish. And as Maria said, the makeup of the community had changed as well. Again, there's always been an immigrant community, but we've gone from Dutch to Italian to Latino from the many different countries. So that continues to evolve over time, but again, always been that safe landing place. I just want to throw out, too, a couple things. Sister Lucia mentioned Father Ted's advocacy for translators at the hospital, and Maria made reference to the clinic, but when the Clinica Santa Maria was still an idea, they invited us at St. Joe's to participate in the planning effort, shall we say. So we were included. It was to meet the needs of the people of St. Joe's, but we were involved in the task force, I guess you call it, to get that going. We mentioned Sister Pat. She had a voter. She became certified as a voter registrar, and we had a voter registration drive because so many of the folks in the parish had not registered to vote. Some obviously could not, so we did that. And a piece I forgot to mention is very important. Our avenue here is called Cesar Chavez Way. Cesar Chavez made an appearance at St. Joe's. One of the things we did, we hosted Cesar Chavez in the parking lot across from the church, so that for a rally on behalf of migrant workers. So, I don't know how I could forget that the first time around, but so anyway, yeah. But along with migrants who settle out of the migrant stream. Again, the immigration from Latin America is very different now, so the community continues to evolve and change. And so you hear Spanish, but in a smaller group you hear Mam, Canjoval, Quiche. So, yeah, community changes.
I think I'm going to thank you so much for that. And of course, there are so many more things that are probably occurring to people. And I think that people from the project would love to still talk to you later about this situation. But I want to be respectful, too, of our time. And I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to talk about the next question, which is our final question that we have for the panel. And the question is about what do you think that St. Joseph has meant to the community? And that's been addressed quite a bit. But also in summary, what parts about St. Joseph or what parts should be remembered as a part of our history here in Grand Rapids and West Michigan? And I think I'd like to start at the end there with Maria.
Bueno, yo creo, resumiendo, que San José es la base, que debemos recordarlo siempre como la puerta que abrió para que se conociera nuestra cultura, nuestra lengua y nuestra religión. claro, San José era la iglesia, pero de ahí partió todo. Fue creciendo tanto que era como un pulpo que se extendía sus manos, y ahora, hoy en día, los hispanos debemos vivir orgullosos de que San José hubiera existido como base. Y para mí es mi iglesia y es mi vida, pero para todos debemos ser un ejemplo para los demás. Porque yo fui 38 años caseworker en el centro hispano, y de ahí siempre mis ideas eran siempre mirando para San José, a pesar de que trabajaba en el centro hispano. Pero cuando implantamos los autobuses para ir a México, al consulado mexicano, era para que San José se beneficiara. Cuando repartíamos los holiday baskets, para que San José se beneficiara, siempre con miras a que San José creciera. Y yo pienso que San José debe ser reconocido por toda la comunidad, y a los gobernantes de la ciudad le debemos de pedir que San José sea recordado, que le hagan un monumento o quizás algo importante para que nunca se nos olvide que San José existió y que fuimos parte de ese crecimiento, y que fuimos parte de esa grandeza que llevamos en el alma, y que debemos representarla con nuestras obras. Tú sabes, que algo que sea ahí, que se recuerde estas palabras no como palabras, sino como un hecho. Gracias.
Bueno, para mí recordar a San José Obrero es muy grande, porque San José Obrero ha unido familias, y una de las familias unidas ha sido la mía. También lo debemos de recordar porque estaba puertas abiertas para recibir héroes como nuestro líder, yo digo mi héroe, César Chávez. También debe ser recordada porque muchas familias fuimos beneficiadas con abrir las puertas para que nos ayudaran a llenar las aplicaciones para obtener documentos en la amnistía. También debe de ser recordado porque ha sido un santuario para recibir a todos los hispanos. Y en San José Obrero yo he encontrado una familia. ¿Por qué? Porque mi casa la uso como un hotel, nada más para dormir. Me la paso siempre en la iglesia, sirviendo, ayudando y creciendo como persona y espiritualmente. Y ha sido un privilegio para mí y para mi familia poder ser miembros de San José Obrero. Muchas gracias.
St. Joseph's, the way I see it, is like the birth of the, not only of our faith, but also of the culture of all Hispanics. And it has, that's where well, I got to go back a little bit. There was a chapel, Guadalupe Chapel, on the premises of the cathedral, which just was demolished a couple years ago. That's where it sort of started a little bit. And then it was small. Do you think St. Joseph was small? Over here on Rumsey, that was even smaller. From there, then it merged over to St. Joseph's Parish. But the birth has been going on. Now we have, because of St. Joseph's community, we now have other parishes in Grand Rapids that now have Spanish liturgies. So you have now the cathedral, you have Our Lady of Sorrows, you have St. Francis, and then you have Holy Name. St. Mary's, I forgot about, thank you, on the west side, St. Mary's. So who's to say because I do know, and when I went to Texas some years ago to learn about Hispanic culture and about theology, it was said, and it still is, but not as much, that the Hispanic community is exploding. It's getting larger. And who's to say what more parishes will have Spanish liturgies because of the need of the people, the need of our faith, the need of to celebrate cultural devotions. And so I would say St. Joseph's really has been doing that, and it should never be forgotten. I know my mother always said, don't ever forget where you came from, and I try not to forget at all. So that it's a birth, as I see it, and it's growing. And so all are welcome within the parishes, and we hope, it keeps on going and that the community does work together, because there's a lot of people that are coming in, a lot of Hispanics that are coming in, and a lot of people that are in great need. If we stop and think, I know I do, in my family, my family has the roots of migrants, and my mother was always trying to tell us, you don't become embarrassed about that. You learn where you are, that it is because where you are right now. And I know she would, because it costs money to go to Catholic school, my sisters and brother and we would work in the migrants around Saginaw, doing picking strawberries, pickles, things like that. Even went up north to Traverse City for cherries. And she said, this is what's going to happen if you don't take education seriously. And so I know I took it very seriously. When fall would come, I just loved to see those books and paper and pencils and whatnot so that I could study. And I never forget that. And every summer, especially, I think of the migrant people that are working out there. It is very hard work, because I did it. Very hard work. And it's very, now with this climate change, I'm sure it's unbearable out there now than what it used to be during my time. But that apparently is the roots of a lot of our people coming and suffering, but then trying to do as much as they can within the community.
See, I guess my last words of what St. Joseph means to the community, what it means to me, is that St. Joseph is a welcoming church. It always welcomed everyone. Sometimes we get caught up in ourselves, like what I did when they took the English Mass away. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was just fighting. But if they would have said, like Father Ted told me, we have to make room for the migrants. I said, oh, well, if they would have said that in the first place, they wouldn't have argued about anything. But I'm just glad that our church welcomes everyone, and that I think it should be remembered as a church for the migrants.
You look at them people.
I don't know, you're not a migrant, but you're my brother and you're a safe place. Okay, that's all I had to say.
Okay, you can look at
St. Joe's means a lot to everybody here, most people that attended St. Joe's, especially Father Steve. He loved St. Joe's as much as all of us do. but even more. He was given 2 chances to come back to our parish. We were delighted. Everybody was. Now things have changed. The new St. Joe's, but it's still a lively church. It's still reaches out to everybody. I mean, we do what we did with St. Joe's the first. We continue with the wonderful things we do within the church. I'm kind of limited right now, my health, but I'm still go to church and still in the finance council. We still have problems now with the new church. But anyway, the old church, it's nothing like it. I'm sorry, we had a school, we had a ramp, we had love, and love with each other. I felt like they were my family, everybody there. It was so wonderful. I mean, we were the last people out of the church because we were say hi to them before they leave church. I mean, most people, they out of the church right away. But I'm the last person to leave church, my family. And that goes for the love of the church. Not just the building, but the love of the people there. Amen.
So many have already spoken to the contribution of the parish to the wider community, but also have spoken to the sense of family, security, belonging. Let's face it, that's what's going to last the legacy in our lives. Like Delia said, it would feel like it was. It is family. So, I mean, I look around here. Okay, I met Maria in 1975. I had my first Cuban meal in her home back in 1975. I met Imelda when she was still in the migrant camps, and Veronica and Yuri were still in diapers. Okay, Virginia used to live right across the street here, and in the greenhouse, Nellie Gonzalez lived. I ended up adopting my first son Armando, who lived next door. I took your kids to school. She mentions her twins a couple of times. I could never tell them apart. So one day I've got Armando, her kids in the car after school. They got their school pictures, and Sammy and David got their own pictures mixed up. It was Armando who said, "You guys have got each other's pictures, okay?" Anyway, again, I could go on and on about the connections and the rootedness among us. My goodness, Carmen, how many funerals, tragic funerals, have I had in your family? It binds us together in ways, and then we're that influence in the community. But what has bound us? What has given us our courage, our strength, our stability? And it's this faith community, and that's the contribution. But this isn't a funeral, okay? We're remembering the past, and that's important. But it was like a relay race, where you're a runner. You receive the baton from the one before you, you run a few laps, and you pass it to somebody else. Okay? I got to run a few laps a couple of different times, but okay. When the collection started, the original collection was to build a new church. We had certainly outgrown, and the church was a little dilapidated. But Bishop Hurley said to me when I was rector of the cathedral before I came back the second time, he said the Hispanic community has not only outgrown St. Joe's Church, it's outgrown Grand Rapids. It has grown and moved. And he said, all of our Spanish masses are down here. He said, that's good, but the people are now out there. How do we do this? So a survey of St. Joe's Parish showed that a third of the community lived around the area of the old church, but a third lived around the area of the new church, and a third came from all over. So we were simply moving the axis, shall we say, but still a good portion of the community lived around the church. And it continues to be everything we've said the old church was. We've passed the baton to a new generation, but they're still running the same race. So we must memorialize the old, but like, this isn't a funeral. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all your comments and for your participation. And now We're going to move to another part of the program, and I want to turn the mic over actually to Steph Rosales for our transition period.
Yes. So can we just get a round of applause for all of our panelists first? Thank you all so much. And I think Father Steve actually had a great segue into the next part of what we're going to be doing together. As he was saying, we want to memorialize and honor our history, and that's why we're here today. And also we want to look at our future together and what we can do to honor the past and create a memorial. I don't know if everyone here knows, but the area over where the church was, there's a school there now, and there's a big empty kind of field that's going to become a new park. So that park doesn't have a name yet, and we have some representatives from the Parks Department who are going to be leading us together this afternoon. The community is going to get to choose the name for the park. We also have a park design that our organization, the Art Center and the library, we worked with the Parks Department and community to come up with this design. So we spent an entire year with kids, families, people who still live here now, people who lived here in the past, people who went to the church, trying to come up with a design that could meet all of the needs, some of the things that our panelists were talking about, the festivals, the events, hosting Chavez. I mean, maybe we'll get to host, someone else from the family, from Cesar Chavez's lineage, or, maybe Dolores Huerta. I know she's still around. But this park space is meant to serve those needs that for the community that the church used to host. So between our community organizations and the Parks Department, we really want to honor the history and make sure that the community still has access to this space. So part of the design is also, you'll see, I would say I keep going like this because the designs are here. And we'll get into it this afternoon after the break. We're going to talk a little bit more about a memorial that has the design for the memorial in the park, specifically for St. Joseph the Worker Church. And also there's an art piece that currently is like an homage to those unused pipe organs that were mentioned. I don't think the crooked one is in the design. But we also have an opportunity to get some feedback around what that art piece should look like. So there's a few things that we really hope to work with community to build the design. So once that park is built, which there is funding already, so that park is scheduled to be built over the next 2 years, I believe. So in a couple of years, the next time you drive by, there's going to be a beautiful park. There's going to be a memorial to St. Joseph the Worker and some art that represents some of the ideas and activities. And one other thing that's going to be, we're working with Dr. Fernandez-Jones to create a historical marker. So the green signs that you see around town that are historically marking sites that of importance throughout the state, we want to make one here. So we're also going to be putting together some language for the historical marker, and there's opportunities for all of you to contribute to that as well. So we're not going to do all of these things today. And that's part of what, Veronica was having you sign your name. If you're interested in any of those things in the future, we're going to have focus groups. We're going to be inviting people to contribute to all of those things. But for the rest of the afternoon, part of what we want to do, we heard a lot of stories from our panelists, but we know you all have a lot of, I'm sure this triggered for you a lot of things like, oh yeah, memories, stories. So we just want to spend time listening to everyone and the Parks Department is going to be leading a conversation, and we're hoping also to just walk over. So like get your walking shoes ready. We're only going to walk less than a block so that you can kind of visualize what, it looks very different now than it did when the church was there. And so we want to kind of look at where we're at now that we've been thinking about where we were. We want to see where we're at and then envision where we're going together. So I'm really excited. I hope everyone will stay. Also, Delia wanted me to remind everyone there is going to be lunch. We're going to have Puerto Rican rice, some flan, tacos. So there's going to be some really good food and opportunities to share some of your thoughts too. So right now we're going to go on a break. I think, what time is it? Yeah, we can do a 10-minute break to remember and memorialize the church.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Carrie Enriquez, and I'm the project manager for the Parks team. And with me, we have
Ben Figueroa, I'm an outreach coordinator with the Parks Department.
Victoria Keenan with the Parks Department.
And we just want to start by saying thank you so much for inviting us to this meeting to listen to you all tell your stories about St. Joseph the Worker and the community, where it was and where it is now and going. It's been really a blessing to be able to sit and listen to all the different stories that you've all been talking about. So where the Parks Department got involved, when this development started forming, there was always a plan, I think, for some sort of green space, but who was going to own, who was going to maintain that green space wasn't necessarily known. And so a few years ago, the Parks Department was approached and asked if we would be willing to, develop a plan and maintain the space once it's built. So we're always looking for additional green spaces in the community. So we said yes right away, and we started working with Steph and Eleanor at the Grandville Avenue Arts and Humanities, as well as the Roosevelt Park Neighborhood Association and GRPS. And we started having meetings talking about what is the vision for this space, what is it going to look like? And the staff mentioned that a little bit earlier. So Victoria is going to pass out, it's a copy of those sheets. I don't think we have enough for everybody, so you might have to share, and I'll wait till everyone gets a copy so you can look at it, and we'll go over the plan. So the lettering is a little bit small. However, we can make do. So on the top part of this is showing like if you're floating in the air, looking down in the park space, this is what you would see. And this very top drawing is more of a perspective view. So you're still floating in the air, but you're kind of at a little bit of an angle here. It's on the TV as well. So it's if you're across the street, so across from Cesar Chavez, looking down into the park space. So it kind of takes this two-dimensional view and makes it more three-dimensional. So if we start in the front, so if we're on Cesar Chavez and we travel into the park space, there is this circular area here. That's kind of like this entrance plaza space coming into the park. We are looking at using the organ pipes as inspiration for some sort of sculpture in the park. The pipes themselves I think they're copper and they're very malleable, kind of soft, and so that they won't be able to be displayed in the park, but we can use those to make molds of something that would stay in the park and be sturdier there. So we also have seating, so some cafe seating, which is this yellow, gosh, it is very tiny. I need new glasses. But anyway, so it's the letter A. So that would be some more movable seats that could be used so you can come, drink coffee or just kind of hang out in the park space. Then we move over into, G. So G is going to be a picnic shelter, some sort of pavilion. So if you've been to Roberto Clemente Park, there's a new pavilion space there. So looking at something similar, but maybe a little different, a little bit more reflective of the history of the space, but an area where people could rent, come and have parties, have larger picnic spaces. And then we're also looking at additional cafe seating kind of by the shelter. It could be in the shade a little bit more to protect everybody from the sun. if we move down into this bottom left corner, we've got a hammock grove. So it's been really successful in other parks. What it is, it's a 4x4 post that we mount at certain spaces. And you would bring your own hammock. So people bring their hammock and you can kind of click to the posts and hang out there. And I think we'd like to work with the Cook Art Centers or maybe the neighborhood association, because we could purchase some hammocks so people could go and check them out for free, because I know hammocks can be kind of pricey. But if you leave the hammocks in the park, sometimes some shenanigans happen, so we want to ensure that people can just kind of come and bring them with themselves. So then if we look at E, and we'll talk a little bit about this more, but it is this picture with the white background. So that is utilizing the cupola from the church in some sort of artistic manner to have a kiosk in the park. So that kiosk would also contain the historical marker that Dr. Delia Fernandez-Jones is working on. And then it might be two-sided with that historical marker. I think they're working on having it in Spanish and in English. And then there's 2 empty sides, though, on that kiosk. So we're kind of thinking about what could that be? Could there be like a message board for the community? Maybe there's a lock for it, but the neighborhood association or the Cook Art Center could have that key, so people could put information in that board if there's going to be events or parties in the park. And then on the 4th side, that one's kind of up in the air. Are there additional words or phrases, storytelling that would want to be said in this park space, and that could go on the 4th side. Could we commission some sort of art, so to have a mural in the park space? I think it's very open. The one thing, so I'm not from Grand Rapids, and I know that people from Grand Rapids are very passionate and very proud of the fact that they are, especially when you get into certain communities as well. So when I think in my head of what I want to see in this park space is if someone comes there who's never been to Grand Rapids before, who's maybe never been to this side of town, and they're sitting there, what is it that you all would want to convey to them to make them feel how you feel about the proudness of your church and the proudness of your community? So then we also have some special lighting in there. You can see in this little box, there's going to be some hanging lights, like twinkle lights, that are going to be up in the tree area over by the shelter. We'll have new lighting that'll go throughout the park. So kind of like Roberto Clemente has when you're coming down into the park space. And then finally, there's 2 more finallys. Second to last finally is going to be a little playground space. So it's pretty small. It's not going to be really big. It is kind of a small space, but it'll still be something fun for the kids to come and play on, whether that's a swing or some other small structure. And then here we have finally, which is this big green open space. So that could either be used for a movie in the park for people to come, or if you rent the shelter for some sort of party, everyone could expand out into that grass space. And then there's lots of native planting and trees, making sure that we have a nice connection to the school. So if kids want to come up into the park space, and making sure we have accessible walkways all the way around the park space and throughout the park space. So this is a lot of information. There's a lot of little pictures, a lot of little tiny words. Does anybody have any questions on this plan as they see it? And then if in English I can answer, and in Spanish Dervin can answer. So.
A question over here.
Yes. The steeple is from the second church,
okay,
which is the one we all remember.
Yeah.
But the first church somewhere is a cornerstone that I understand Habitat still has tucked somewhere.
Okay.
But and by the way, there's a picture behind you on the floor there. The first floor of that original church was the school that stood until everything was raised a few years ago. So the first part of that building still existed and was used. I guess my point is we should recognize that building as well, which was the original historic building.
Yes.
So if that cornerstone could be incorporated, maybe one of those empty sides you mentioned, whatever. But I would think having the cornerstone is as important as having the steeple from the second church.
Can I speak to that?
Because the second church dates to 1953.
Okay.
The first one dates to 1889. Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you brought that up. Could everybody hear what Father Steve was saying? We still have the cornerstone from the original church, and we also have the steeple from the second church, but we also have a few other materials from the church as well, including some of the light fixtures. Actually, I'll go bring one up. We have some of them here. So there are some other arts and design opportunities to consider when it comes to bringing in some of the elements from some of the physical, historic elements from the old building. I do. Habitat for Humanity has...
What a cornerstone is? What exactly is a cornerstone?
La piedra angular. So the cornerstone, when the church... Well, can I grab this picture?
Yeah,
Let me grab that.
the mic too if you have stuff to add. I'm gonna go get one of the lamps. I forgot to bring those up. Oops.
So when St. Joseph Parish was founded, this was the original church. 2 stories, and down in the corner here, now you can't see it, was the cornerstone. The cornerstone, La Piedra Angular, that has the date and everything. And I don't know if sometimes they put memorabilia inside. I don't know if they did that or not. But Father Franken, who helped build, who was a pastor building the church, this was a Dutch church, Dutch Catholics, but he said the Dutch Protestants didn't want Dutch Catholics around, so they stole the cornerstone a couple times. They had to bring it back until finally they could, okay. And then, so this was the original church and school. Church was the second story, school was the first story. In 1943, fire destroyed the church. They managed to save the first floor, put a roof on it, and that's the school we all remember. Okay, that's the school where Sister Lucia taught, for example, okay? And so there was a parish hall over here. They used that for the church for a while, and then finally built a new church. The new church is the one we remember as the old church, but that one opened in 1953. So this is from 1889. It burned in 1943. How many of you remember Katie Papma? Remember Katie? Katie confessed to me once she felt she was responsible for the fire that destroyed the church. And I said, Katie, why do you say that? She said, well, see, there were big staircases here to go up to the church. She said, and she would watch the old people have trouble getting up these stairs. So she prayed to God and asked that God would do something to help the situation, and the church burned. And I said, Katie, I don't think that's how God answered your prayer, but she always felt guilty about that. Anyway, so when this was all torn down, the steeple from the new church and the cornerstone from the first church were saved, and that's what we're talking about. So they've already incorporated the steeple of the second church in the plans, because this one burned, but I was simply suggesting that we make sure we incorporate the cornerstone from the first church in those plans as well. Okay?
Thank you.
I have a question for you. Is there going to be disability or somebody with a less flow to gauge?
Any handicap accessibility?
Yes, the entire park will be accessible. So all of the walkways that you can get around through the park space will be, yes, you'll be able to go. So, yeah.
Solamente una idea, lo que estoy pensando, y la pregunta y la voy a decir en inglés, pero si regresa cuando se termine de construir el parque, si hay una posibilidad de hacer un festival, como por ejemplo el Festival San José, en esta área y cerrar algunas calles. What I said is, when the park is built, this is just a thought, I have not mentioned it's this yet, but it's a possibility to host our St. Joseph Festival if we close the streets, host the festival.
Yeah. So so usually what we'll do is we'll have a ribbon, like a groundbreaking when we start the construction, and we would obviously want everyone who's here, everyone who with ties to the community to come to that. But then when we have our grand reopening, we typically tie it with some sort of event, and that would make real sense to do that because we could connect with special events to close down the street and have different activities in the park space. Yeah. Okay. Are there other questions on what you see? Yes.
I have no questions about this, just a comment. I just want to talk a little bit about Roberto Clemente Park. Roberto Clemente Park had 3 murals. They put 2 up so far. And then there's a third one that of a picture of Roberto Clemente that we were going to put into that slot. We thought they were going to be covered in plexiglass so they're not damaged by the weather. And so I was wondering, checking in at this time, take advantage of this time to address that.
Yep. No, so we don't typically do plexiglass over it. It wears with the sun. It turns kind of yellow. And the intention for the art in that park is it's temporary, but temporary means a couple of years. So, there is a coating on it so it will last. And so once it starts to, start to deteriorate, then we can put new items in that park space so that there's always room for more art in the park. And there are 3 panels on the back side of that restroom facility as well that we don't have art for. So
we were looking at the one that you can see from the street, so we could get that done.
Yes. And is Sylvia working on?
Yeah, she submitted it to the art advisory.
Okay.
So we're supposed to hear back.
Thank you. I just wanted to touch base.
Yes.
Over here.
Yeah. No. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes. The park is about 3/4 of an acre. Yep, and we'll walk over there at the end of this actually, and you can see it's all of the open space between the school and Cesar Chavez. Yes, these are quite fantastic.
I know, right?
Wow, that's great. Yes.
I have some, tengo una sugerencia. Como estamos hablando de la iglesia, sería muy bueno que pusieran el nombre del primer sacerdote que hizo la primera misa en español. Para recordar, ese sacerdote que trajo se puede decir a los hispanos, o que recibió a los hispanos como segunda lengua en Estados Unidos.
Sí, podemos hacer eso. Susan, we should bring the first pastor who came over here.
Father Ted
Durbin.
Grab that Brother Mike Durbin, right there. There you go.
What is his name?
Father Ted Kozlowski.
Kozlowski.
Durbin, will you repeat the question too for the video?
Oh, sure. She was kind of mentioning that we should bring the first father. What was the father's name?
Father Ted Kozlowski. He's at Our Lady of Sorrows right now.
Okay. Yeah, and kind of just pay homage to him as he kind of helped migrants come over here and feel welcome into the community as well. So.
Keep it.
Is there anyone else before we continue?
Is that right, Father? It was Father Ted who had the first Spanish mass.
First Spanish mass, yeah.
So they want to put his name on the
De todos los padres que han estado allí, también.
I have a list of, all the pastors. That's all.
Like, are you 20? 10?
No.
20, yeah.
There's maybe 20 pastors now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I could give you the list and you could decide.
Yeah, no, that'd be interesting to see. Okay. I think someone maybe in the back.
Oh, right here.
Yes.
The four-sided thing. I was thinking something like art prize-y, like people can write a memory of the church, the impact the church had on them, the people that are here today. I was never a member, I've never been Catholic, but it's been a part of my life since I was growing up. I met Father Steve at Evelyn Grandville's quinceañera. And Father Steve impresses me because he didn't start learning Spanish until he was in middle school. So if you guys want to hear about somebody learning Spanish, he's your guy. Go Tigers. Yeah, something permanent.
Okay. Thank you. Well, and I know there's, the potential to put photos too, so you can put coatings on photos so that they can, remain outside as well. I think it'd be hard though to limit, if you only had 10 photos, what are those 10 photos?
A population we have not mentioned, but there was a significant Native American component to the parish, especially during my years. I don't know how, I presume before that as well, but significant Native American population as well. So I don't know how we work that,
And to add to that too, there were black families and white families who also went to St. Joseph. I think Sister Lucia taught all the students from the neighborhood who grew up in there. And so that's something that we're continuing to explore and to talk with those families as well about their memories of this place.
We used to play in their kitchen, and we used to make our own toast out of bread.
Play church.
Sister Rose McSabe was very heavy at one point, and she was helping clean the church. She got stuck under the pews once.
I can't remember right now.
Probably don't want a picture of that. So.
I don't know if now's the time, but we had talked to my dad, right, about things, about ways to remember the park. We talked about the organs as like, yeah, we didn't really use the organs. Dad, you want to talk about what you were thinking about, if you were going to do anything with music?
Did I tell you what I was thinking about?
Okay, all right, we talked about this. I'm trying to like throw you up, but it's fine. We had talked about like, since music was such a central part of the experience that drew people, that kept people, that brought people together, that maybe
I got it.
Got it now. Okay.
So, when I came back to St. Joseph's, all right, when I was a little kid, like Virginia said, you know, I was born and raised there, but as a teenager, kind of fell away, and John Olek and Father Blazan, I didn't know that Catholics went out, you know, evangelizing. I'm inside, I'm playing basketball around the park. John Olek comes up and says, hey, you know, he took the ball. So I said, give me the ball back. So I went over there and he goes, hey, you know God? I said, yeah, I know God, he's up there. You know? So he says, well, if you want to know God in here, come see me. See you. He said, St. Joseph Church. So then I came back to St. Joseph Church after 6 years, when I was 22 years old. But then I heard the music, and it was the Puerto Rican, it was their family. They were playing Puerto Rican music in the church, and I'm in the pews, and I'm like, I couldn't help it. I'm like, you know, I never knew they played that, you know, that kind of music in church. But yeah, that was, so, you know, having something to reflect that environment that their family shared with the whole community would be awesome. You know, they played their congas, they played their cuatro guitars, and every time even now I hear it when I go to a funeral, but you know, I get chills. So yeah, something that reflect a group, a band, you know, because that was definitely part of it. Before then, it was, you know, those organ pipes you guys are done. They never worked since I was a little kid. So.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we might have a band for the grand reopening. So. Yes.
Yeah, so we just did that at the PRCC, put something like that together at Roberto Clemente, where they were playing out there and stuff, and we were dancing. It was really fun. And so to piggyback on that would be something cool to bring here. In Puerto Rico, there's a dance space where they call it el bate. And the bate is where folklore dances and stuff would be done. And then all around them we'd have musicos, the conguistas and bongo people and...
I'm going to interrupt for one moment because we want to record everything people are saying. So Isabella is going to pass a mic, so when you just speak into that.
Everybody's going to still hear you, I just want to...
Okay, I don't got to push anything? Okay. So what I was saying, he said about the music and my family, that was my family, and they taught themselves, really amazing. They taught themselves how to play these things. They didn't go to school for it. They didn't know musical notes or anything. They just put those instruments in their hands and they learned it and they carried it on through.
And the PRCC had a festival over at Roberto Clemente that was beautiful to see that come outside, fresh air, everyone out having fun away from their phones, electronics. We know how that can go. So we got to dance out there. I started a business too with that same passion with bringing out the folklorico side of Puerto Rico. And so I see like an open space here where I'm picturing something that in Puerto Rico they call it bate, where you do folklore dances and all around would be musicians and playing the music, and the women or men can dance, either or. So that would be nice to see every once in a while and bring the community together in there. It would be nice too to, you know, for example, if I was living in one of these homes, to just hear music and like, oh, is that coming from the park? Let's go see what's going on. And all of us get together and just enjoy that culture. Like he said, walking in, you know, that was something that really touched him. So it is beautiful.
And not only that, but you know, this is Mexican, so
Yes.
mariachi.
Yes.
Some type of picture of mariachi. I said not only that, but some type of picture of, because it is Mexicans. You know, my families are. Here's my little youngest Mexican right here. You know, the baby. To have something representing a mariachi. My father-in-law, Porfirio Murillo, was a mariachi singer, and he would go around Grand Rapids and play for people all over the place, and that should be represented. There you go, Dee.
He's speaking about my dad. My dad told me before he had to go rest with God, he told me that he was dressed up to go to play for Jerry Arport, his last senator race. He was there to help celebrate it. They invite him every time he has to do the celebration with Jerry. He goes to play for him. Now, he told me a story. He told me that, I'm not sure, I need to research it. I don't know if I had to research it. But when he was playing for Jerry and Betty, he actually was singing a song. I'm not sure exactly what he was singing. Solamente una vez, once in my life. He danced with Betty. And all the security was ready to grab him. And Jerry said, no, let him dance with her. And he was singing the song. Wow. And he said he was so like smiling when he told me about it. He's like on fire when he told about that. So I'd like to research it if you can, Dee. But Dad danced, I know there had to be folders about him dancing with Betty Ford.
Great, thank you. So the other things I want to touch on, because I want to make sure that we get you guys back on track time-wise. So another thing that we're working on is the naming of the park. And by working on, I mean we started talking about it.
So, because it's really important. There hasn't been a new park name in the city for a very long time. You know, I think it's been decades. So to be able to name this park space is really important. So we want to make sure we get that right. I know Steph said there was a sign-in sheet when you first came in, and there's area in there that you can sign if you're interested in being on a stakeholder committee to help come up with a name for the park space. In addition, if you're interested in being on a committee to help like select some of the items in the park space. So what do the benches look like? What does the shelter look like? What are the colors of the park space? That as well. Next steps for the park. So we're in our final design and we intend for that to be complete this winter. And then construction would start next year, probably spring or summer. And it would last through the end of the year. The one thing with the construction season, we usually have to come back the following year to do the planting because, you know, we finish all of our work in October and then we can't, you know, necessarily plant anything. So we will have a big grand opening event. And I think when we get closer, like maybe once it starts in construction, we'd want another committee that could help plan what that grand opening looks like. Victoria has some brochures here that she's going to pass out. There's some in Spanish and there's some in English. And they talk about this project that we're talking about right now. We're also looking at reconstruction of the Roosevelt Park Lodge. So the lodge building that's in the back of Roosevelt Park. And then also making improvements to the Oxford Trail and then extending the Oxford Trail. So that is the one that goes across the river and then it comes down into Black Hills neighborhood and then stops at Oxford. So we're looking at extending it to Hall now and then eventually extending it to Roosevelt Park. Because in my head, Roosevelt Park becomes like the center of the universe where Plaster Creek Trail comes there. There's going to be a new Silver Creek Trail that comes there and then Oxford Trail. So you'll be able to walk along this trail, bike along this trail to get to downtown. So all of the information is on here. There's a QR code that you can scan. It'll take you to a form if you want to sign up to be involved in any of them. But the design team for the parks, it's Victoria, Dervin, and myself. So even if you forget all of this and you call the city and you're like, there's some people from parks that came to talk to us about something, they will eventually get you to us. So, or you can call Steph. Steph knows everything as well. So.
But again, I want to thank you all. If you're willing, you can go down and look at the park space. It's like Steph said, it's maybe half a block down there, so you can see the area that we're talking about. Right now, it's very lumpy, kind of undulating. So that's not how it's going to end up looking. We're going to come in, we take out a bunch of soil, put in new soil, and it'll look completely different. You will be absolutely amazed at how this park looks. So thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to switch the schedule a little bit. So we're going to invite our partners from the Grand Rapids Public Library History Archive before we walk over to the park. So that once we get up and walk over, then you guys don't have to come and sit down again. And you can, get food and just hang out together. So I'd like to introduce Julie and Rachel. And I'll let you two take it away.
Thank you. My name is Rachel Burns, and I'm the library assistant in the Grand Rapids History Center at the Grand Rapids Public Library. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for inviting us to this event, and I feel like just in the past couple of hours I've learned so much, and I'm so glad to be able to take part in viewing the connections and familial ties and closeness of this community. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I'm so glad that I'm here and that all this stuff is getting documented and recorded, and that there's so many people here who take the history of this area and of the church so seriously. And I just think that that's an amazing thing to start off with. I want to quickly start by, I want to say that reciprocating the sharing of history and learning from all of you, I wanted to share a little bit about my family. And my grandparents came from Puerto Rico to Grand Rapids in 1965. My mom was born in 1966. And my grandparents have lived in the city for over 40 years. Now my grandma lives in Wyoming. When I was reading Dr. Fernandez's book, this is just a little tidbit that I thought was so interesting. She highlighted the neighborhood in this area on the street Ringette off of Division in Franklin. And she mentioned that there was a series of houses where Puerto Rican families would live and then vouch for future tenants to be able to rent that space. One of the houses was 813 Ringette. Julio Vega lived there. And then when he moved to Kerr Street, he was able to advocate for new people coming in, and that included my grandparents, Francisco and Felicita Vasquez. So I was really touched when I read her book, and I think being able to have connections to history like that is just a wonderful thing, and it's really great to learn about local history of your area. So that being said, the Grand Rapids History Center collects photos, old documents, newspapers, scrapbooks, records from family and different businesses in the area and people who are researching their genealogy, people who want to learn more about their house, people who are interested in the history of the city are more than welcome to come to the History Center to do that research. We gladly help dozens of patrons every day, and we've been helping a lot of people with remote research through the pandemic, and we wanted to take this time to specifically say that we are very aware of the gaps in our archives, in what we have. We want to, the way that the History Center works is that the donations, all of the materials are donations from the public, and we want to ensure that all of the public is represented so that when future researchers are coming in to look at what has been done in the community, what they can find out about their neighborhoods, what they can learn about their churches, there won't have to be as many challenges in trying to find that information. So, that being said, I would like to gently implore that if there's ever any interest from anyone to donate photos or old records, if there's a box in the garage that is just sitting where you're not sure what to do with those materials, we would love to begin conversations of what the future of those materials will look like and what can be done to preserve them. At the archives, we have very large storage area that's climate controlled. We put all the materials in acid-free folders and keep them in a humidity-controlled environment so that they can be preserved for as long as possible. Staff and researchers use those materials to create new sort of, I'm trying to think of the word, like new resources for people to find out all this information that is not hidden, but just not known by the general public, I guess you could say. So if that is something that would be of interest to anyone here, we would gladly love to speak about what that process would look like. And I don't want to come off saying like, oh, we need your stuff right now or anything like that. It's more of a invitation to get to know the space and create a sort of relationship with the community to help safeguard the stories for the future. I think that's everything. Julie, do you want to add anything?
Do you have a card?
We have cards.
I know, Rachel, thank you. That is fantastic. My name's Julie Tabrier, and I'm also in the History Center at the Grandville Public Library. I don't have anything to add to that. That's amazing. Some of you have been looking at photos that we have over here. They're beautiful and they're amazing photos. And like Rachel said, we have gaps and they don't fully represent, like everything you've been talking about here is not like fully represented in our collection. So it's important to change that. And this is the Fernandez Bar and Restaurant, and Delia has this improvement.
However, when the first church burned for 10 years, they used the parish hall as the church, tore it down and built the quote new church that we all remember. The only photo I've ever seen of that parish hall is from the library that was displayed in Art Prize when you had local. So in no church book have I ever seen that photo. So you may have gaps, but you got some stuff. If we want to see a photo of what that hall used as a church was, the library has it.
Thank you. Also, you can take those photos, please. They're copies. So if there's anything you would like, please take them.
I saw people who brought photos today. And yep. And I know some of you because I've interviewed some of you before. I know Homero has many photos and newspaper clippings. And so I just want to encourage you to, like, even if you want to bring them here and we can meet here beforehand to look at things, or if there's anything that you really, I think a lot about my own history, like hearing you, I wish that I had that. And so thinking about the future generations, I'm like so mad at my grandparents for like, oh, they didn't do anything. I don't know anything about my history. And so future generations really will thank you for sharing your story. And I just know I'm like, there's a picture here. I know Father Steve had a photograph too. So I don't know, I had a question, and I don't know if others might have the same question, is if you have an original of something that you want to keep for your own family, do you guys make copies, or is there a way to document that without having to donate the original piece, or how does that work?
We do encourage people to donate originals if you can, but obviously we do not want to take like things that you need to keep, because that's, yeah, you need to have that too. So if you have like a lot of things, we might not have the ability to make copies of all of it, but we certainly can make copies as well so that you can keep that photograph in your family.
What type of photos or information specifically? Are you looking for specific things regarding events, or what, or even simple?
It's very tempting to just say everything.
I mean, when you say like how much of everything?
Festivals?
Yeah, I think the
event related, or things that people have done, or even
the History Center's scope is Grand Rapids, and I think a little wider out would be Kent County. We serve, I think anyone who's doing research in the area, they're most likely to come to us. And so if there's events that happened in Grand Rapids, if your family lived here in the area, if you have documents from like your neighborhood association or something like that, I think the biggest caveat is that we're looking mostly for information about what historic events have happened here in Grand Rapids, but it doesn't mean that it has to be something like very grand or very intricate. I think the simple things are some of the greatest things to collect, and they're some of the greatest things to look through, because it lets you have an idea of what everybody, normal people, were doing throughout time. And I think that's such a great thing to be able to find and document.
Do you have, what if you have flash drive with pictures? Do you need the flash drive? Do we have to make the pictures? Do you take the pictures? That would be things that are being kept on these little, what is that, flash drive?
Flash drive.
Yeah.
Digital.
How do we do that?
Yeah,
We like to keep it ourselves too.
Yes, of course.
But, how do we make the pictures? You make the pictures?
So I think every situation ends up being a little bit different. So it's a conversation that we can have to figure out the best way that works, like for each. And like Rachel mentioned, like it is a relationship, talking about how it's going to work for you and what makes sense. And we're happy to have those conversations. And Steph is also available, as she mentioned.
I just want to add real quick, and thinking about what we have that might be, something that is, that we can put in the archive as somebody from the researcher perspective, right? That a lot of the things that they have, some are around festivals, but some are just family photos. But they're family photos from the 1940s and the 1950s. And as a researcher, all of it is fair game, right? All of it tells part of the story of the place. And so having that wider breadth of available photos or quinceañera programs or programs from the church, the bulletins, especially if somebody's holding on to any bulletins from somewhere. I asked this question a while ago. Nobody said they did, Auntie. Yeah, those types of things that can show the rich life that was at the church, because what happens is at some point we'll be gone, but we're hoping to God that the library and the archive, right, live on, right? So once we're gone and it's our kids and grandkids and great-grandchildren, they can know about us, but they can only know what we leave them, right? And so when we're thinking about what it is, nothing is too insignificant, right? It's what's meaningful to you that is important, because what it tells me as a researcher and how we train our researchers is what they have left behind is important. So that's what we get from, that's what I can learn about the community, right? So what we have already in the archive, they have a collection of Latino materials, and they are festival photos, they're family photos, there's narratives, oral histories, which we can talk about as well, because everybody needs to have an oral history. Leah, we've done one, but it doesn't mean we can't do another. Father Steve, you have to do your oral histories as well. But all of those things tell me that this is what's important to the community. And so how that gets translated in a number of ways. But for historians like Nora and myself, what we're looking at is, if this is in the archive and this is left, this is a representation of what's important. And so I was able to have a whole chapter in the book about community, about churches, about festivals, about bailes, about dinners, all of those things, because those were important. That's what got left, right? And I think that is an accurate representation of what makes this community very rich and welcoming. And so while you're thinking about, do I have anything that I would love for future generations to see, this is a question you can ask yourself. What's important to me and to my family that I want to have kept and preserved in this way that it lives on after we are here?
I just have one quick thing, and then I will give the mic to who deserves it next. This is a call to the younger people in the room. I think we all have connections to our families and to the people that we love. And when, like what Dr. Fernandez said, is that I think that we have what has been left behind, what was thought to be important. And I challenge the younger people here, if there's ever a time where you can sit down with grandma and grandpa or with aunts and uncles with the stack of photos and try to identify the people who were there or give information about the greater context, like this is a photo of a parade, but I don't know what the building in the background is, and you sit down and it's like, oh, this is that's so and so and so and so, and I knew that person from that side of the family and that sort of thing. I've been starting to do that with my grandma, and I've just been learning so much, and I think that that's also valuable information that needs to be recorded as well, because for the sake of future researchers, like the details like that matter also. So, yes.
I'd like to add that one of the things that I found as I've been digging through photos is that you didn't write information in the back. And I think that when you start doing school pictures and activities, I think I'm pretty loud, but that we start putting names on the back of who they are. You get baby pictures, and I can't remember who they are, or, family photos. But let me tell you how important that is to write on the back of your pictures anything if you're looking through them, because if you hand them over, they're not going to know who they are. So please do that. Yeah. ¿Qué más? Oh, I did find Angelita's, we went through her photos. Yeah. And we found retreat pictures. Oh. So I will I'll make sure we turn those in.
Thank you, everyone, for all of your questions and for listening to us. And now I will give the mic back to Smith.
Okay, so we have less than an hour left together. Oh. But there's still a couple of things that I just want to point out. I do still want to invite people to walk over to the park, maybe before we get food, so that Carrie and Dervin and Victoria can kind of, looking at a paper feels very different than standing in front of a space. So we just want to encourage everyone to do that.
And then when you get back, for those of you who maybe have not gotten a copy of Making the Mexican City, we have free copies to give away to everyone here. And Delia is going to do a book signing. Where is she? So even if you already have a copy, you can also take another one, get it signed, and then you can give a copy to someone else who maybe couldn't be here today. I know a lot of people from the church who couldn't be here. If you know someone who might want a copy or who it would be meaningful to share that history, maybe with some young people, give them a book too. So after we go to the park, we'll be able to come back. Everyone will have a chance to get a book and get a book signed. You can look at the photos here and get food, and then we're gonna wrap up our time at 1 o'clock. So, and also, of course, I have a card. If anyone wants to stay in touch, don't forget you can sign up on the form about naming the park, the design, connecting with our archivists, or even just staying in touch about your story. So,
I guess that's it for now. If we want to start, are you guys ready to walk over to the park?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.